and things like that. It's someone that was created, but it was created out of a lot of pain. And it's not to say that I'm like a fake person or hey, what's up, you guys? It's your boy Juju, and welcome back to the 1% of Juju podcast, where we teach you the practical steps to live your life like the 1%. I am glad to be back here today. Go ahead, make sure you are subscribed, all that good jazz. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a review. Show support for the podcast. I really appreciate you guys being here today. Beyond anything, but you guys may be able to tell by maybe it's the title, maybe it's um, my intro, but this is probably going to be a little bit different of a podcast episode, and I'm trying to, make sure that I'm coming out here and continuing to bring value. But today I'm going to speak a little bit about the days um, when you're not okay and how to keep, I guess, whether it's pushing through or giving yourself a chance or whatever it is. But I did want to think, and I'll speak to why I'm making this episode specifically because I mean there is a chance that this just gets buried and you guys never even hear of it. But um, I didn't want to record this in the first place. I didn't want to make this podcast episode, so I'll speak about why I'm making it. But um, this is not my normal recording time. This is a Saturday today. I normally record on Monday, so usually the podcast that you guys see on Monday mornings, I'll go ahead and record another one, that same evening, and that's the one that you guys usually get the following week. But today's a Saturday, but it's been a very weird day. So obviously 2020 was a very strange year, sorry, for everyone. But March 12th for me was kind of like the start of the whole downward spiral of I guess 2020 was. And this is the day I'm recording this, March 12th. So that Saturday, the couple Saturdays ago. Um, and it is the day my grandma passed away, but it's also um, the birthday of one of my best friends, who also ended up passing away in 2020. Um, so it's been, like I said, like a very strange day for me. Like I'm not like a super emotional person, so I'm not like the best at just like when like normal people just feel like they have a day where maybe they need to like just sit there and cry for a second or things like that. Like I don't do that. Like I guess like maybe something I learned how to do, but I can't. But I also really like pride myself on like just going out and working. So that's always what I do. I could just make sure you're consistent. And I've heard a lot of those comments recently, like how do you stay so consistent, and how do you this and how do you that? Like I'm just like I just get so content with being average and um, almost like I'm some kind of robot that just obsessed with consistency that just like never fails and never has a day off or things like that. And um, these days like are a great reminder for me where I woke up this morning just like feeling off. It wasn't even just like the fact that it was the anniversary of my grandma's passing and my friend's birthday. I was just like as soon as I woke up, like even last night, like I was like, okay, I'm fine, I'm good. It's not gonna be an overly emotional day. And then like I woke up this morning and I was like, oh shoot, what's going on? Like something's off here, and like just a hard time even just getting out of bed and things that like I do on a regular basis just for like and that are just become routine. So yeah, it just was kind of weird. And I ended up just feeling lackluster, not feeling very productive and all those things. And I ended up going to the gym, like had a decent workout, even that. Like I didn't think it was a great workout. Um, Definitely was supposed to do a little bit more in there, but and I did some work where for something that with my uncle because there are some things that we have coming up from like our business side. So ended up turning it into somewhat of a productive day, but I was just like, this is just not myself, right? Like I'm someone that just gets up and then I get going. Like if I'm by myself, especially, I'm just like, get going. And I was just thinking about coming here and talking about like, what do we do on those days where we're not okay? Because I think that's something that gets lost when people think about, going out and being part of, the 1% and growing and becoming where you want to be is like that. There can't be a day off or there can't be a miss. And, it's a big, first of all, lie. Rest is a very big part, whether you're, someone that's spiritual, that's Christian, like the rest is a very big part. The Sabbath is a really big part of, you know, um, what God wants for us. Or if you're just like, you know, whoever you are, rest has to be a part of what you do. And, it's just not true that like these rich people are just out there working nonstop all day, every day. They do have days off. And it's about like learning how to handle those. Right. And I wanted to speak about that because um, I think I'll dig a little more into this whole idea that like recently I received like so many comments and like I've spoken to so many people that just keep talking to me about my consistency, right? And they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so consistent. You're doing this consistently. You just keep going." And um, this, I do take pride in my consistency. I do take pride in the fact that like when times are hard, like I continue to push through. Um, but this person that like was created or that you guys get to see or that you guys, I guess, for some of you guys maybe admire or enjoy listening to, um, I'm very thankful for it, but it's not someone that always was. And I think that days like this kind of force me to look back in the mirror and realize that um, Juju is almost someone that like has been created, right? Like 1% of Juju at least, like is someone that's like been created. Like this person that's just obsessed with work and obsessed with living their best version of themselves, becoming the best version of themselves, and like working, becoming 1% better every day, doesn't miss a day, things like that. It's someone that was created, but it was created out of a lot of pain. And it's not to say that I'm like a fake person or like that behind the scenes, like that's not who I am, but it's someone that I built myself to be, but it was built from, a lot of mistakes. It was built from, a lot of brokenness and a lot of like hard times where you get to a certain point where you're almost like, I don't like the person I am, right? And it's not somewhere that I necessarily like want people to get to. Um, but sometimes you do need to get to in order to flip around and to realize uh, there's so much fulfillment and there's so much greatness into being like, I, I made something out of myself. Like, I wasn't a letdown. Like I even like look around sometimes and I'm like, there's all this stuff. Like there's so much negativity around, right? Like around, okay, well, these people that don't want to be a part of my life, like it's, their loss. I'm going to become this, I'm going to become that. And for me, I always think about it. I'm like, what if they were right? Right? Like what if they had a very fair and valid reason to not want to be in my life, and I just need to be better. I need to be a better person, right? Like I've seen some of these things around recently, um, going around where it's like, well, if someone, let's say that you grew up with, or that was at some point at the same level you're at, usually they show you the least amount of support because for them it's a constant reminder of where they could be versus you've actually made it there and you've actually accomplished some of those things. And I'm like, okay, that's one way to look at it, and but maybe there's some truth to that, right? But maybe that's actually my fault. Maybe I haven't done a good enough job to show humility and support to them as they go through their journey, and that's why they don't want to be a part of my life anymore. That's why they don't want to support. Maybe I haven't shown them enough of, you know, I'm not a different person than the person you knew way back then. Um, and that's important to me, to start realizing, like, as I become whoever the heck I want to be. I also think about the very hard times I've been through, and all that has been a build up to whoever I am today. So I don't necessarily have any regrets or anything like that, but I think that days like this, they also always become a great reminder for me that, okay, I'm a human being, and don't forget where you came from. Because those moments made you. The hard times made you. Um, and yeah, there is like a certain feeling of like I don't want to be back there, right? But um, the reality is like we're all gonna go through certain of those things, and really should have made an agenda for this because I feel like I'm gonna be all over the place. But I really just wanted to come on here and be real for a second. I don't even know how long of a podcast episode this is gonna be. It's probably gonna be fairly short, or a lot shorter than a few of my episodes have been recently. But I thought that it was important to come out and speak about that, and to speak and to speak from like the heart almost, and be real because this is hard. Um, so let me touch on quickly why I'm even here talking about this, because it can be very confusing, right? And so I started this podcast, and um, what I really wanted, like genuinely from the bottom of my heart, I'm gonna say this today. I'm gonna say this over and over. I have it printed out next to me. Is I want to have a positive impact on people. Um, I wanted to show what it looks like. I wanted to show the hacks. I wanted to show all these little things that allow people, to go out and to live truly their best life. And that's something different for everyone, right? Like, so for myself, like when I come out and I'm like talking about living my best life, it's not the fancy cars, it's not the jewelry, it's not the designer. None of that fulfills me. None of that I actually care about. There are some things I enjoy having, but none of that fulfills me. But what truly brings me joy is being at a point in my life, and I spoke about the brokenness and like the feeling like a failure and the not liking myself in the past, but now becoming someone um, that can provide for his family, that can help, you know, my mom with bills and living and all these different things. And there's some a lot more exciting things out there coming, but I don't want to talk about it now. Like being able to help my sister get through school, helping my family in different areas. I was able to invest in my aunt's business, who I think I want to talk about some more, but those are the things that truly fulfill me. Is like when my aunt came up to me and she was like, I'm trying to start this business. I have this great idea. Are you willing to invest in my? I was like, why are you giving me a pitch? Like, how much do you need? And I just sent the check. Those are the things that fulfill me. Those are the things that genuinely make me happy. To invest in my family, in my people, and to give back to my people. Like, those are the things that when I look at them, I'm like, heck yeah. I'm excited, and that's what I consider being the living my best life. But I know that for some people it's going to be different, and it doesn't matter what that is. Maybe for you it is the designer clothes or the fancy cars or the big houses and things like that. And I love that, and I want to empower people to go out and get those things for themselves. And that's why I created this podcast. But one reason I didn't create this podcast is for personal fulfillment, or I should say that differently, because we all do things for personal fulfillment, right? Like, the act of giving back is going to personally make me feel good about giving back. So that's and that's just a human, like, that's reality. Like, every human in this world that does an act of kindness is because it makes them feel good, it makes them feel like a good person, and we all want to feel good, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I didn't do this necessarily just to get clicks, views. That's why you guys probably don't see like a lot of creativity in my titles. I don't have like a lot of clickbaiting and things like that. Like, I didn't do it for the clicks. I didn't do it for the views. I didn't do it for the clout. I didn't do it for the followers. I'm not into any of those things. I'm genuinely into helping people live their best life. But I think that as you kind of get in it, and this is a really good reality check, you kind of get to a point where there's a lot of times where people would tell me that I'm Superman or I'm a robot or I'm so great, I'm so smart, and if you're around me enough, you'll hear me say all the time like I'm really not that smart. Um, and you get all this positive reinforcement and it feels good, right? Like so it's great. So it's just like so I think that it gets to a point where you forget why you actually started the podcast. And I didn't start the podcast for people to look at me and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't start the podcast to make it this highlight tape of my accomplishments, right? That was never my goal. Sometimes I talk about them so you guys know that I'm for real. I live the life. I live what I preach. I share like what I share with you guys. This is like real life stuff that I'm doing. I'm trying. I'm messing up, right? Like you can look on my channel. There's my mess ups, there's my successes, all those things. It's all on there and it's all documented, and that's great. But I want like the parts that I share the successes is to show you guys, I'm doing it. But I didn't start this podcast to make it this highlight tape of how great I am. But I think that in the midst of the support and the positive comments, the positive reinforcement, I had to take a step back and really check myself and realize that maybe it has become that, right? Maybe I have become the person that just comes out here and tells you how great I am and asks you guys to give me the validation of how great I am. And when I was thinking about not doing this, especially in the state that I am, of just being a little off, it just felt weird because I was like, nah, I'm just going to show them the good, right? I'm just going to show them when I bounce back and things like that. But um, I really started this podcast because I wanted to show you guys that I'm not that special and that everyday average people, I'm not calling any of you guys average because I also have this belief. Like my favorite quote is from Marianne Williamson that literally says that there's a light in every single one of us, and we're all very, very special individuals. But I wanted to start this podcast to show every person that's out there that's good, just go doing the day-to-day stuff, man, that you're special, you have the ability to do every single thing you set your mind to, and to have almost like a cheerleader, like a support group, someone that's along the journey with you, that's telling you like, okay, well, maybe do things this way, maybe do things that way. um, and the only way I can really do that is by showing you guys that I'm also not this consistency robot, right? Like that I'm not this person that just on it 100% of the time and that just never fails or anything or any of that, right? And I definitely have a sponsor for this that I forgot to mention, but we'll pay the bills another time. Today we're going to focus on this, but um, yeah, you guys see, I'm not cut out for this influencer stuff, man. It's just, um, but yeah, that's the reality of it. Like um, I'm here, and I want to genuinely help people, and I want people to live their best life. And when you're in that dark path, just realize and know that no matter where people are at, and you hear it every day, right? With like, why is it that like you know the riches of the rich get caught in all types of scandals, right? Like whether it's um I don't want to name them on here from like just like for different reasons, but like there's all types of scandals, right? Like you think about people stealing money or doing all types of bad things, and you think like, why is it that they do that if they've made it, if they're part of that elite group, or that so many of us are aspiring to? But the reality is like we're all fighting our demons. We're all going through stuff on a day-to-day basis, and there is no one out there that just got it figured out, that's perfect, and that doesn't need, that doesn't have a bad day, right? Like no matter how it looks, We all have bad days. And I guess like we've probably gotten to the point now where I've rambled on enough um, to actually tell you guys like how I handle the bad days, how things go when when I have a bad day. Um, and like I said, even though today was off, I was still able to get up, manage to get a workout in, manage to um, to get some work in with my uncle. So technically, still made money, still grinded, but the it's definitely not like that every day. Because when I woke up this morning, I really thought that it wasn't going to be that day, um, and I started really like angry and mad at myself. And um, I think like I handle things differently, right? Like I'm really obsessed with the idea of becoming a better version of myself and not becoming like the failure that I once thought I was. Um, Even though like I no longer necessarily believe that, uh, I just believe that that person was, you know, a slow build into who I am today. But I think that on those days, often, you know, meditation has become a really big part of my life. But like sometimes, like that's just like not enough. Um, and I think that I have really gotten to the point where I really accept the fact that it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be off one day, even if you had right, like you're like if you're chasing this idea of consistency, right, and you're like, okay, well, I want to be in the gym for 5 days a week, every single week. It's like okay, um, and then now it's Thursday of your first week, and now you're not going to the gym and you're not able to make it out there or something happens and things like that. um just realize it's okay. And you know, one technique that I've had recently that's really been helpful, and some people have heard me say that, is I'm gonna try again tomorrow and I'm going to be a beast tomorrow, right? So it's like the idea of I'm going to sleep today and today's done. I can't do anything about it. I can lament on it. I can sit here and call myself different names for failing at trying to be consistent, for not making it to the gym on Thursday. Or I can just go to sleep, be like, it's okay. Today was tough. Today was really tough. Tomorrow's Friday, and I'm going to try again. And just understand that once you don't make it on Friday, because Friday is just as tough, it's okay. We're gonna try again next week, right? And then that's okay. And it's just like the encouragement of like, that's fine. This day's done. And that's the way I approach both my successes and my failures. Because when I have success, I also go to bed be like, wow, this was great. This felt good. Let me do this again tomorrow. Let me try again tomorrow. Right. And it's like starting to understand that like what are the things that make me feel good versus what are the things that don't make me feel good. And I started realizing that like, oh shoot, being responsible and doing nice things for others and you know, being a good person and being responsible. I said being responsible already, but being accountable makes me feel good. While you know, not going to the gym on Thursdays when I said I was going to go to the gym on Thursdays doesn't make me feel as good. I don't go to bed as satisfied. So it's like I'm going to commit to doing more of the things that make me feel good and less of the things that don't make me feel good. So once again, I'm going to try again tomorrow. I'm going to try again tomorrow. And that gets you to the point where you're not allowing a bad day to turn into a bad week and not allowing a bad week to turn into a bad month or a bad month to turn into a bad year, right? Because that's the point we want to get away from. So it's not about this idea of consistency of like, I'm going to the gym 5 days a week for this amount of time. It's like, no, how about I'm going to the gym on a consistent basis and then I fail and then I start again and then I keep it going, right? So that meaning that when I don't go to the gym on that Thursday, how about I continue going on Friday and then next week we'll try to go 5 times. Okay, next week it's again a 4 day week. I thought I was gonna make it. We'll try that again next week. right? And that's okay, and that's really how I've approached it, and it's been a very helpful thing. And I think to some extent, like that's where I'm at right now, and I'm giving myself grace. I'm giving myself a chance for that. But I think it's hard to do because I'm someone like I want to have it all together. I want to show people that that I have it all together. I'm very competitive. I want to be the best all the time, and I want to be on it. I want to be on it at all times. But those days will come, and I thought that it was important for me to come out because you may be looking at my content and thinking like, oh yeah, this is great, but this is not for me. This dude is way too consistent. I'm not. I'm just another guy, and like I said, there's a lot of days where I have to look at myself and be like, you're the exact same person that once thought of yourself as incapable of doing anything, and it's that feeling of not wanting to be that person that made me who I am today. Um, and that's why I want to be here and continue encouraging people that if you're having a bad day, you're just having a bad day. You're not a bad person, or you're not having a bad life, or anything like that. And if those continue coming and coming and coming, it's okay. Try again tomorrow. So yeah, I'm not gonna do all this crazy outro to ask you to um, do all this stuff, but just go ahead and try again tomorrow. That will be my only message for today. But as always, you guys do know, make sure that you are taking the steps today to ensure that you're 1% closer to your goals than you were yesterday. Really appreciate you guys joining me, and I appreciate you guys listening. Take care.